there. Today, I've got something somewhat special, depending on how you look at it. I don't know what's considered special these days. So this is an orchid that I have been looking at, not necessarily to add to my collection, but I've always found it fascinating, especially since it's in the same genus or order, I believe, as these other types of orchids, and this one specific one that I actually do have. So really cool orchid, really fragrant. Now, I want you guys to take a moment and learn some vocabulary with me. How many of y'all can pronounce Galeopetalum? Take a minute there, just to appreciate the beauty of that word. Galeopetalum. Gal, E-O, petal, Congratulations, you just learned your first phonetics in this orchid channel. And that will not be the last. So, introducing Galeopetalum. Galeopetalum is in the genus of the same species, Zygopetalum. It is a hybrid, and it is a really cool plant. Very different from my Zygopetalum jumping jack that I have. Here is our beautiful specimen right here. Now, the flower's a little funky on these. They're a lot bigger than your typical jumping jack and a lot skinnier, which I actually love that fact about it. Galeopetalum is in the same thing as Zygopetalum, which I love Zygopetalum too. However, these two rival my favorite scent now, because both of these species are, well, I shouldn't say species, I should say hybrids. Both of these hybrids are fragrant. Out of all the orchid genera, out of all the species, out of all the hybrids, I think this hybrid variety has to be my favorite. You cannot go wrong with your classic Zygopetalum or Zygopetalum Alliance. Phenomenal smelling plants. I actually like these even more than my Oncidium that you might have seen in my previous video. They have a more well-rounded floral scent to them. Not as strong as my Oncidium, which I love. I can actually keep this in my room, and I am happy to have it in there. It fills up the room, but it's not like headachy scent, whereas my Oncidium is a headachy scent, and I don't like it, so I moved it outside of the room where you don't see it at all now. Another interesting thing about this orchid is that it actually comes from Southeast Asia. Actually, no, I take that back. It doesn't come from Southeast Asia. It comes from South America. That was a little mess up on my part with the little factoid thing there that you guys didn't see at all because I didn't mess it up. Now, it says to grow this one, the Galeopetalum, in cool, moist conditions. Cool and moist usually are the biggest killers of orchids like this. However, I don't have those conditions, so I'm not going to argue with anybody on that one, because I actually don't have those conditions at all, pretty much, unless I actually put this outside. And when I actually put this outside, I tend to forget watering it in general. So I'm going to try and grow this like my Zygopetalum jumping jack, and we're going to see what happens with it, because they are part of the same alliance. My jumping jack takes very well to the same conditions. So we're going to see what happens with this one. Now, you might be wondering what the conditions are for this. Conditions are for this is going to be Phalaenopsis. That is the climate that I pretty much have in my room here, with all the rest of my orchid collection. Take a minute to appreciate the beauty here. Different species, different varieties, different hybrids. You are not going to see this anywhere else except my room. Here we go. Yeah, again, so same conditions as Phalaenopsis. Main conditions are going to be watering once a week. Okay, very important. Do not let this orchid dry out completely. If you do, the root tips will start to shrivel up. And then when you do start watering again, it'll actually cause the roots to start rotting in those places. And you don't want to do that because rotting roots on any plants, regardless of species, regardless of type, regardless of whatever, you don't want to deal with it. It is a flat out mess. And mess being a stench that no one should ever have to experience in their entire life. Another thing with the care requirement number 2 is going to be bright indirect sunlights. Same for Phalaenopsis, same for all of my orchids, same for this one. Bright indirect sunlight. Do not put this in a windowsill without some kind of covering or some kind of protection from direct sunlight because you will burn the leaves. And when I say you burn the leaves, it's not like, oh, it's just a little bit of thing or whatever. You actually burn the leaves. I have an example of a plant that I left in the car and it literally burned the leaves. Let's see, what is the third thing going to be? Third thing is going to be, let's see, leave it alone. Pretty simple. Leave it alone. Bright indirect sunlight, water once a week, leave it alone. Do not do anything to this orchid unless you see it start to grow over the pot like this one is doing, which I'm actually going to repot this in better substrates when I can eventually get that better orchid bark mix, that high quality New Zealand orchid bark. But other than that, don't do anything to this plant. Just leave it alone. Bright indirect sunlight, watering, leave it alone. I cannot stress that enough. Okay? And let's see how this goes. Let me show you the flowers again. I love the coloration of that. You don't see this too often on orchids in general, that mixture of brown and green. I just love how that comes together and forms those patterns at the top there of those petioles. Crazy. And not only that, but the deep magenta and dark purple of the lip mixed with that whitish pink color. You don't see that too often with actual species orchids, even though there are a lot of species that are vibrant color like that. But that really goes to show the genetics and the characteristics of hybrids. Just how crazy that color comes out. Okay, we got another one that's coming in here, a little tiny claw of a little flower thing that's coming in. And there it is. Let's see, another thing to note about this plant is that it has, or this one specifically, not about the plants, is that it has these 2 new growths on it. So Zygopetalum will always flower from a new growth, no matter what genera, no matter what species, no matter what. There are orchids that flower on old growth, which I will get to that in a different video because that is not part of this video at all. This Galeopetalum is flowering out of the young new growth here. And that's really cool. That's really cool to see. It also has an additional growth right in the center here. So that's pretty awesome. I actually like this plant because so far initially, even though this is fairly recently flasked or deflasked, which is when an orchid comes out of tissue culture or a agar mix, this orchid is probably anywhere between 2 and 3 years out of flask. So they grew it up, whoever grew this, big box store, big nursery, wherever, grew this up, decided it wanted to wait 2 or 3 years after it came out of flask, and that is the first flower spike that you are seeing. And that is probably the first, if not second, flower spike that you're seeing from this. So I like its initial habit of growing small and kind of compact. very great, and it's a very good characteristic to have that when you don't have enough space to grow a pretty extensive collection. So there's a little bit on my Galeopetalum. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope to see you in future videos, and I hope to see you in October at the San Diego County Orchid Society show and sale. Make sure you do not miss that, because I tell you what, it is like one of the best shows that you're ever going to see in the United States, and we honestly have the best show in the United States, just as a FYI kind of thing, you know. Make sure you look forward to that. Make sure you mark it down on your calendars. You're going to want to come to that. You're going to want to see it. Make plans. Cancel the plans with the grandparents and the family and whatever. Come see this show. It's awesome. You meet awesome people. You meet awesome vendors. Have a good time. Chat up with some of the people. You're not going to get this experience anywhere else. And then the show portion of it. I mean, come on. Who can't say no to orchids in bloom? Like, that's pretty, I mean, that's a no-brainer right there. So, alrighty, you guys are going to have a good day. I know it. Go get your dreams, go get your goals, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.